will remember.
I 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 will remember.
My booby was a survivor, and I saw the numbers on her arm.
I will be a witness to the truth.
I will speak out against Holocaust denial.
I will speak out against hate and intolerance.
I will act to preserve memory.
I care.
I understand.
I vow never to let the memory of the Holocaust fade.
I am 80. Who will speak out for the millions that were slaughtered when I'm no longer able to do it?
Will you remember?
Some say that the Holocaust never happened.
You must pick up the burden of our history.
Remember, if we ignore the past, we are condemned to repeat it. Will you allow that lies become the truth?
How will you make sure that such evil things never happen again?
We have yet to learn our lesson, and nothing will ever change unless you help.
What will you do to remind the world?
Will it be bystanders or upstanders?
Who will remember what happened there?
How will you bear witness?
Who will remember for me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3rd Annual National Policy Conference on Holocaust Education. We are thrilled to be co-chairs for this important conference. My name is Esther Dressler.
And I'm Michelle Goldstein. We are both members of the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Senate and proud to be longtime supporters of the work that this organization carries out each and every day.
It's incredible to look out at the audience and see many directors of education, school board trustees and superintendents, educators, chiefs of police, law enforcement personnel, business leaders, authors, publishers, students, and volunteers in attendance this evening.
We would like to offer a special acknowledgement of Toronto District School Board Director of Education, John Malloy, who has supported this conference by agreeing to be the honorary chair. We will hear from Director Malloy tomorrow, along with the incredible lineup of speakers that are scheduled for this conference, including the Honorable Erwin Kotler, Lee Begeft, and Wendy Lauer.
We also have 2 important panel discussions that include experts in the field of Holocaust education. Our survival panel will feature a discussion regarding the future of Holocaust education between moderator Shael Rosenbaum, chairman of the Sarah and Chaim Neuberger Holocaust Education Center, and Holocaust survivors Max Eisen, Bill Glebe, Susan Pasternak, Stefania Sitbaum. The second panel will feature Jennifer Gervelvich, Bojina Karvovska, Michelle Fair, and Aisha Sheikh, all educators from all across Canada. They will be discussing education practices of Holocaust education with moderator Ian Jones.
In addition to our survivor panel who will speak tomorrow, we have a number of courageous survivors who are in the audience this evening. If I could please ask that all Holocaust survivors with us tonight please stand. To engage with you about their experiences as well as their views on the future of Holocaust education. Please ask them questions, learn about their stories so you too can be an important witness to their history.
At this time, we would like to invite Avi Benlolo, Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies President and CEO, to say a few words.
Thank you, Esther, Michelle. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Today we mark the 73rd anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. This conference, entitled The Future of Holocaust Education, solemnly marks this day and the 6 million Jewish women, men, and children who were murdered by the German Nazis and their collaborators. We also remember countless other people who were murdered by the Nazis in the death and labor camps and the killing fields. Elie Wiesel said, "It is true that not all the victims were Jews, but all the Jews were victims." Those who stood out and spoke against this atrocity understood that once all the Jews were killed, the Nazis would then target the next group, and so on and so on. The Nazis were meticulous in their killing and studious in their planning. A ledger at the Berlin villa at Wannsee, where the final solution was hatched by the so-called most intellectual and influential leading Germans of the time, tabulates Jewish communities across Europe to be killed. Some of the countries that are included, and there's a very long list in the ledger, are Belgium, and it lists 48,000 Jews, England, 330,000, France, 700,000, Ireland, 4,000, Italy, 58,000, Romania, 342,000, Sweden, 8,000, Hungary, 742,000, Turkey, 55,500, USSR, 5 million, Poland, 2,284,000, and the list goes on. All in all, the Germans aimed to murder 11 million Jews under the Nazi banner. Educators have the most important place in our society. They are responsible for imparting knowledge and history to the next generation. As Holocaust survivors age and eyewitness accounts are no longer available to challenge the Holocaust denial, the role of educators and institutions like ours becomes ever more critical. We all know the famous saying that unless we remember the past, we are destined to repeat it. It's true. If you think about it, modern human advancement is built on compounding previous knowledge. In science, in medicine, engineering, technology, academia, etc., no advancement is made without building on previous knowledge. But if you try and reinvent the wheel, you are likely to make the same mistakes as before. So, we are all here to look at the best practices and to learn from each other for the sake of human advancement. Promoting human rights is critical, and for this, I commend and thank each and every one of you for being here tonight and tomorrow. Some days it feels like humanity has learned about the Holocaust, has not learned about the Holocaust. Today we are seeing a world that is more fractured than ever before. We are seeing small and large conflicts everywhere. Sadly, even today a bomb in Kabul killed nearly 100 people. Millions of people have been displaced from conflict zones in Syria, Iraq. There's refugee camps all over the place, many of them forgotten, in Africa, in Sudan, Yemen, and they continue to grow, and people suffer. And the nuclear clock etches ever closer to midnight as North Korea and Iran rattle their sabers continuously, and Russian and American relations continue to deteriorate. Still, if there was any other time, if you think about this, if there was any other time in history you could choose to be alive in, when would it be? I think we all know the answer to that. It would most likely be today. There's so many incredible and wonderful things and opportunities all around us. At the same time, however, our namesake, Simon Wiesenthal, experienced the Holocaust, and he lost 92 members of his own family, he argued that you can't take freedom for granted. You have to fight for it each and every single day. You have to be vigilant about freedom. So reminding people about the past, about the consequence of hate and intolerance is important now, and it's going to be even more so important in the future. We, all of us here, are responsible for ensuring this happens. We are the consciousness of society. We are the spiritual need humanity must have to remind it about the primal tendency that we have, which is sometimes to go to war and to hate. Our own country is threatened with forgetfulness. 40,000 Canadian soldiers were killed and 100,000 injured fighting to liberate Europe from the Nazis. This week I published an opinion piece in the Hill Times and the Huffington Post, warning that conditions are ripe for rising tide of white nationalism, mostly, but not exclusively, because intolerance has been largely disregarded by federal and provincial governments. I'd like to share with you a little bit from this article because it brings to bear why Holocaust education is critical now more than ever. On January 18th, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was heckled at his town hall meeting in Quebec City by a man who held up an upside-down Canadian flag with a swastika drawn on it. The man was removed from the room, but the pain of that episode remains. No matter your political viewpoint, holding up a swastika in Canada and desecrating our flag is damaging to our national ethos. What permits this type of behavior, and how have we descended so far down the path of hate and intolerance in this country? At the University of New Brunswick, where white supremacist posters were distributed, a spokesperson for the university advised us that she received communication from a group called Nationalist Socialist Canadian Labour Revival Party. The group claimed responsibility for the flyers and objected to its characterization as intolerant, despite the fact it laid out its platform on an anti-Semitic and hateful website and calls for white, in quote, survival. The name of that party eerily resembles the official name of the Nazi Party, which was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. This shameful behavior by Canadians follows on the redistribution of a winter edition of the so-called Your Ward News last week. This edition appears more intensely pro-Nazi than previous editions, calls for an establishment of a Hitler fan club, and recruitment of volunteers to join its movement has increased. While images of swastikas proliferate its pages and it calls for book burnings and Nuremberg-like rallies to take place. Neighbors are pitted against neighbors in this city. 2 weeks ago, a Toronto family found swastikas drawn in the snow on their car. The snow will melt, of course, and the swastika will disappear. But the suspicion about neighbors will last forever. Which of them holds white supremacist views? Who among them would have marched in Charlottesville, Virginia last summer? In 2018, it's surprising that many hateful anti-Semitic and racist attitudes prevail in this day and age. Overall, most Canadians abhor hate and intolerance and want to live peacefully. It took 2 years for authorities to lay hate crime charges against the editor and owner of the Your Word News, despite complaints from the community. All the while, those who peddle hate observed and became more emboldened and motivated into action. So after a town council in Puslich, Ontario voted to keep the name of a local street, Swastika Trail, should we be surprised when a swastika is unfurled at a town hall meeting where the Prime Minister is speaking. Many argue for free speech, but this is not a political science course. This is real life. We have learned from history that free market rhetoric will always victimize minorities. That's why we have laws in society. If 6 million reasons are not enough, frankly, I'm not sure what is. Let us not forget that Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, and which was Germany, of course, at the time was one of the most technologically, scientifically, culturally, academically advanced nation on earth, if not really the most. It was a civilized society that practiced social democracy, and while evolving, for all intents and purposes, was moving towards absolute freedom. We in this room are the vanguard against intolerance. I know this may sound impossible, but how can a small group of people have an impact? But in every instance of human advancement, and this is really what we're talking about here, human advancement, there were heroes who pushed back against the odds, like Martin Luther King Jr., like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Malala, Raoul Wallenberg, and many, many others who pushed back against hate. The Holocaust forces humanity to look in the mirror, to ask ourselves who we are, and to acknowledge that humanity can easily descend into chaos. I believe, however, there is more good than bad in humanity. Today there are more, if you think about it, today there are more charitable and nonprofit institutions than ever before who try to make the world a better place. More people are invested in social justice and human rights than ever before in human history. More people want to help the poor, the sick, the frail, the elderly, and assist in war zones than ever before. And for this, I really do, I put this in here because I really do believe that we should be optimistic. That we should work with that optimism in mind. Last December, I was proud to stand with 5 Holocaust survivors, some of them are in this room, at a press conference, and to condemn the atrocities that were taking place in Aleppo. Because it's our job to speak out for everyone. We've learned the lesson of the Holocaust, but now we have to apply it. And that's what I believe that we're striving to do here. As educators, I believe it is our jobs to teach the Holocaust as a lesson in humanity, so as to inspire and encourage students to turn away from negativity and towards optimism and friendship and doing good in the world. So, to conclude, in the words of Anne Frank, how wonderful it is that no one need wait a single minute before changing the world. Again, I want to thank everyone here tonight for being here, for participating in this. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's talks and the informative discussion that we will all have. And I'm really glad that we're all doing this and we're here in this very important evening marking International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the liberation of Auschwitz, and towards a bright, bright future. Thank you. As you all know, in May is designated as Jewish Heritage Month, and still some provinces are working on that designation. But in Ontario, it's been designated, and federally, it's being designated. You'll see this guide, which our staff worked very, very hard on, has been endorsed by almost every premier across the country, by numerous police chiefs and educators across the country, and by many rabbis and educators as well. It contains curriculum for schools to work with should they want to apply it to their schools. It contains information about the history of the Jewish community here in this country and in general. We know from some of the responses that we've received from some people who reviewed it for us that they learned a lot from it. So we're expecting it to be a great learning tool. It'll also be online. And as you all know, we have our Tour for Humanity and workshops going on every day. We will distribute it as we go along throughout the year. So as many schools and educators around the province and around the country will have it, and we'll also mail it out to our political leaders and various civic leaders across the country as a useful tool. So you are the first to see this. So thank you very much for, and by the way, again, as I said, it's a soft launch, so if there are any recommendations on this, and this is a conference, so feel free to let us know if you have any thoughts that you think should be made around it. Thank you again. And Melissa, thank you, Melissa. Who, by the way, worked exceptionally hard on this, I have to say. It's being translated into French as well, as we speak. Thank you.
Simon Wiesenthal Center started the January 27th initiative. The initiative is simple. Invite school boards to put forward a motion to formally recognize International Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th of each year within their family of schools, and provide those boards with resources to recognize the date of January 27th. As you know, this marks the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. We are pleased to have 32 Ontario school boards and 1 Saskatchewan school board that have taken on this challenge and joined the initiative. We are thrilled to have some of those boards here with us this evening, and we would like to take a few minutes to recognize them. I'll call Avi up to join us in front of the room. When I call your name, could you please come forward and receive a certificate and a small gift in recognition of your leadership in marking International Holocaust Remembrance in your school board. Durham District School Board, Halton Catholic District School Board, Director of Education Paula Dawson, Halton District School Board Trustee Donna Daniele. Oh, sorry.
So we'll do Durham first. Okay.
That's great. Ottawa Carleton District School Board Board Chair Shirley Seward. Peterborough, Victoria, Northumberland, Clarington Catholic District School Board Director of Education Michael Nasello. Regina Catholic School Division Director of Education Dominic Scuglia. Simcoe Muskoka District School Board Director of Education Brian Beal. Toronto Catholic District School Board Superintendent Nick DeVella. Waterloo Catholic District School Board Superintendent Richard Olson. Windsor Essex Catholic District School Board Director of Education Terry Lyons. York Region District School Board Principal Anita Fishman.
It's being launched on our website this evening and offered as a resource from educators to support educators from all levels of education in creating meaningful Holocaust educational programs. Since today is January 27th, we would also like to take a few moments this evening to commemorate both the victims and the survivors of the Holocaust. I'd like to ask that all of the Holocaust survivors in the room please come forward and join Avi at the front of the room. I would also like to ask all of the directors of education from school boards that are here this evening to please come forward to help light a candle.
Come on. So if you want to just come around, just have everyone light.
Once all of the candles are lit, I'll ask that you please stand and we hold a moment of silence. Please take a moment to remember the 6 million Jewish men, women, and children who were murdered during the Holocaust, along with the millions of others whose lives were impacted by the Holocaust.
יתגרם ויתקרש שמי רבה, ועמד ברוך רצי וימלך מלכותי, וחיי חון וימי חון, וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרב שמעי וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עשה שלום במרמך ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Thank you. You may take your seats.
Just 1 second. Can I just have everyone move in really close so we can get one